Over the last few months, my life has changed pretty drastically, and that's caused me to take inventory of a lot of different things in my life, one of those being my Magic cards. Shout out the giant stack of unorganized crap behind me that I'm very strategically blocking in this shot. As I've been taking inventory of my MTG cards and going through and sorting and finding stuff I had forgotten I've purchased, it has changed my approach to how I want to build commander decks this year, and I wanted to share that with you. I've got my active roster here for the beginning of the year. I want to share with you the 5 commanders that are currently on my active roster and the 3 commanders that are trying out for a spot, and the 1 commander that I'm sort of eyeing as a scout from afar. Let's talk about it.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
Big shout out to our sponsors that allow Jake and I to work on the channel full-time. Card Conduit, the best and easiest place to sell your cards on the internet. TCG Player, the best place to buy them. Dragon Shield's the best way to protect them. MTG Stocks is the best way to track their prices over time. And Moxfield's the best place to put your deck lists on the internet, including the deck lists of pretty much every deck you're going to see in this video today. Check that pinned comment. Looking at my active roster, we got to start with the team captain, which is Dahada, Binder of Wills. Dahada I've not revisited since I made the first video earlier this year, and I probably won't revisit for another couple of months. I like to give it a few sets and then go back through and pick through for any Mardu legends that might fit the theme of this one. We'll take a look at that deck in this video, but nothing's really changed with it. Urza, Chief Artificer. I've received a couple of cards that I've got to work into this deck. This is my all retro build. Urza's a little bit on the chopping block. This deck is strong. This deck is fun to play. It's not that I don't want it anymore. It'll definitely just go on the shelf and stay together as a project deck that sort of comes off the bench every now and then. However, I've sort of tired of Urza. I've been playing it for a while now. It needs an upgrade from Ravnica Remastered. I haven't revisited this deck since that set came out, but like I said, I have received a couple of cards, so we'll take a peek at that. But Urza's still on the active roster. Elevair is Uriel reformed. I took my Uriel the Miststalker deck and I reformed it as Elevair of the Wild Court. This was initially going to be a high power build. I still do think it's very powerful based on the cards that came in the deck and based on the commander itself. However, I wanted to keep this upgrade fully in-house. And that's really what started my journey. Was I was set to order some cards for an upgrade of Elevair, and I was like, man, I keep finding all these great cards. I've got the Uriel deck that I built for years and acquired stuff. Surely I can upgrade Elevair with just cards that I already own and not order another card. And I absolutely pulled it off, and we'll take a peek at that one. I've also got my Lara Croft Tomb Raider deck. I'm not sure how to feel about this deck yet. I haven't gotten a good play test of it in. I'm theory crafting and goldfishing a lot with it, and that's how I've sort of built it. But this is another one where I want to build it strictly with in-house cards. It's sort of a legendary reanimator, graveyard matters sort of deck, but it's in Teamer colors, and so it's still a reanimator deck, but it's a little bit different. And just for personal reasons and what this card sort of represents to Jake and me and the channel, I want to build this deck and at least have it for a while. But this is one where I'm not super confident in it as a roster mainstay, but we'll see. Let me know if you've been playing Lara Croft and what might make my experience better there. And then lastly, I've got Prismatic Bridge. I got a special copy of this. This one and Elevair were the two that really caused me to rethink my approach and have me using cards that I already own. What a concept. I sought out a copy of this version of Prismatic Bridge to build this deck with. I ended up arranging a trade with one of the patrons, and you may recognize this command tower. I was having a little bit of trouble deciding where I wanted this command tower to land, and it's going in my Pretty Planeswalkers deck. Hooray! It was going to go in the Lara Croft with the rest of this secret layer, but Lara Croft came with a command tower that was Croft Manor. So with this deck, I am using completely cards in-house to build a Planeswalker deck. As you can see, a lot of normal stuff, some stuff that I just had sitting around in my binders that has been strong before, but I don't play it anymore. I used to love this card. Cards like this that popped up in our foil quest that Jake sent me. I need to get Jake to sign this one, actually. Cards that I've acquired in, this was from the anniversary countdown pack, the 30th anniversary countdown secret layer. Really sweet treatments of Planeswalkers, and I just don't have a place to play them because I don't have a Planeswalkers deck, or I didn't. And now that I do, I can put these cards in there. I picked up this baseball card secret layer, and this looks so cool in hand in this deck, shuffling it, pulling a hand, looking at it, you're just like, oh my god, these baseball cards look so cool to me. I understand that they are not the most powerful planeswalkers, but this is more of like a collector's deck. I want to get some of these cards onto the table that have only been in notebooks, and this is what started it all. The planeswalkers from Mythic Edition here, these are the ones that I found, and I was like, ever since I got these, I've barely even seen them, and that's just such a sad thing to me. I found them and I was like, these are so dope to look at. I don't want to just look at them, see them again in another 6 months. And so I'm going to sleeve these up. I'm going to get them onto the table and we're going to play some Commander with them. I don't know how this deck is going to play. This is one deck that is not going to be able to follow my rule perfectly because I feel like this one is going to need some pieces that will make it work effectively. Shout out to Zach G trading me the Chromatic Bridge and trading me or sending me a Mordenkainen signed, so I have some cool patron and friend signed cards in here. Will and Rowan Kenrith, this is the kind of card I want to run in here. These are just two sweet planeswalkers from a time that Jake and I absolutely dominated at MTG Vegas. We actually just put this entire story on tape as an exclusive video for our Patreon this week or last week. As this video is coming out, go check out our Patreon, see if you want to sign up at the exclusive video tier, and you can hear the story about me and Jake winning at MTG Vegas with Will and Rowan in a two-headed giant event. But yeah, this one's just going to be a 5-color shenanigans, planeswalkers. This is Tezzeret's Gambit, by the way, from the Mystical Archive. Cards that I've acquired. I really want to keep the planeswalkers at cards that I've acquired, come across, or traded for. I don't want to go seek out any planeswalkers, but I do want to find some cards that will help the planeswalker strategy work. I think I'll have to acquire those myself. Widespread Thieving. This is a card I just had on hand, and I put it in a sleeve for now because this is also the very first 5-color deck that I've fully committed to. Just fantastic in a planeswalker deck there with Lae'zel. And so I really want to get the 5-color cards that I have. Want to get those in the deck too, try those out, see if they're fun at all. Obnixilus the Adversary, one that I opened. And here's another 5-color, just cool card that I really won't have a place for if I don't play it in here. So we'll give it a shot and see how it works. With my Elevator deck, like I said, I originally was really going to pimp this deck out fully, just maximum power, all of the best, most perfect cards that I could order and just absolutely power this deck up like crazy. But I went with a more homebrew. I just wanted to use cards that I've got around, and so this one ends up being a pretty sweet and straightforward Auras deck. If you've ever played an Auras deck, you know how this one works. Got a lot of cool stuff that I've not been able to really find a home for that has some Enchantress or Aura base. I really love some of these cards that I originally wasn't going to put in this deck. Some really old stuff from when I originally started playing there, with the Invasion copy of Armadillo Cloak, my OG copy of Ancestral Mask. I farmed a lot of cards that I already had in my Uriel deck and basically converted the precon into a powered up version of itself. Really focused on more creatures and creature tokens than I think people see that they need to put in here. I've played Elevair quite a few times. Shout out to the Ox card. I got the special Ox tokens there from Aaron Miller. You know, I had to do it. This is one of my favorite new cards. If you haven't played it, you need to check it out. Ox Drover. I've played Elevair quite a few times, and I have just found that the ability to put an All That Glitters on an ETB or an attack trigger onto one of your creatures means that we really don't need a ton of auras. Also, shout out Liberated Livestock. Love that card. We just don't need an absolute smash ton of auras in this, even though we've got a lot. We are still running something like 20 auras. You can check the list down there in the pinned comment. But with Elevair, ETB and attacking, putting in All That Glitters on your creatures or creature tokens, a lot of times that's it. Give them trample, give them that aura token a lot, as much as you possibly can. And that's really all you need to do to win. So with Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the original thought this year was to do it like I was going to do the Elevair deck, which was put a bunch of cards in it that I order specifically to make this deck just as powerful as it can possibly be. Instead, I've been looking through and finding some sweet legends that I pulled from different events last year, and I'm putting those in. Legendary artifacts are specifically what this wants. Jake sent me this card, and it seemed really relevant to have in this graveyard deck to be able to return things that I accidentally mill or don't want in there. Also really love this watermark. I just want to shout that out again. These are those promos for the 30th anniversary. And that watermark on there is so subtle and beautiful. I really like it. But yeah, so I went through and pulled a bunch of cards that I originally wasn't going to include in this one. And of course, I'm featuring the Galaxy Artifacts Secret Layer in here that I put the Command Tower in the other deck of. But this one is going to be still really powerful. That has sort of been my take this year is I've got these cards sitting around that I'm not even using. I've got to do a better job of utilizing the collection I've got, because all these are real. You know, I'm proxy pro, I'm proxy friendly, especially if I'm play testing a deck. But right now I've got the cards, I'm putting them in, I'm building them out just to play test. And I know that that might not seem novel to most of you, but to me, it's a big difference. Typically, you know, we look at the collecting aspect of this, but I've always been a player first. And so I want to collect the cards. I want to take care of them. You can see most of my decks, especially the really special ones where I'm running the awesome cards, are double sleeved. But I want to play with them too. And that's really what I'm just going to focus on. This is the kind of thing I want to pass this collection down to my son, down to my daughter. And if they are interested in playing, I want them to have it. I would rather that be the case than just sell it at the end of me playing. So the approach now is protect them, take care of them. I want them to last, but I do want to play with the cards so that I can enjoy them as well. What a thought. I've showed off the all retro Urza Chief Artificer deck before with the signed Lucas Graciano construct tokens, but people like looking at this one, as do I. So I figured I'd show it off one more time while I kind of tell you where I'm at with it. I need to go through Ravnica Remastered. Honestly, I need to finish going through Dominaria Remastered and make sure that there are no tutors or anything else that I want, because I'm not too concerned with keeping the power level down on this deck, but I am concerned with making sure that we've got all the coolest retro cards. And so I'll let myself get the more powerful stuff so that we can have a cooler looking deck, more powerful deck. I don't care if it's some 1-mana tutor in this one. A lot of times I want low mana artifact creatures because Urza has affinity for artifact creatures, and we want to get Urza as cheap as possible for quick casting the first time and subsequent recasts. So you see, every single time there's any sort of low mana retro frame artifact creature, I'm all over it. That's where I want to be. It's pretty straightforward. If it's available and it fits the theme, it's in here. This started with a pre-con. The sort of feature here is the Dan Fraser signed set of the foil etched retro artifacts there. I am missing a few of those. I need to get the rest of the ones from the Mox box so that I've got the Soul Ring and I've got the other one. I forget what the other zero cost artifact is in there that they also produced but regional locked. So I got to figure out some way to trade for those, because that's really my focus this year, is not buying new cards. I want to acquire through trade or some other way. I really love this Urza deck. Jake actually sent me a foil absorb for it, so I've got to find a spot for that in the deck. And then I also did acquire Urza Lord High Artificer, and I need to find a place for that in the Urza deck because of theme, not because it's really super overpowered. What are you talking about? And then team captain for me is Dahada, Binder of Wills. This deck hasn't changed, like I said, and probably won't. This is the kind where this deck is completely built around the very specific treatments. I want the craziest looking treatments of any individual card that I can possibly find, especially the legends. The legends, a lot of times I run the secret layer, you know, instants and sorceries in here, the coolest looking versions of these that I can find. With the legends though, I really want them to have a showcase version on their home plane. That's what I'm kind of looking for when I'm building this deck. Let me get through the lands here. I really like to theme this one around Dahada sort of going around the multiverse, finding, we'll talk about that, finding these different legends that will serve in her army and conscripting them against their will, really. I have, go for the showcase on any individual plane. That's what I kind of want to pull into this one, but that means that I need to buy them specifically more often than not. If I'm able to do an event and pull something cool, that really helps, especially if I can trade for it, but a lot of times I have to acquire these straight up. With Dahada, I do ask to rule 0 in her other version, just because it's got blue. It's got blue on here. The second ability says gain control. That effect is in red, and so I rule 0 this as red, red, black 1, so that I can play it in the deck and have a little more flavorful of a pull. And then past the active roster, I've got 3 different commanders that I am looking at. In the spirit of play what I already have, I might bench a deck like Urza, maybe Dahada for a little while, even though I said I could never do that, because I want to play some of these commanders I've never played. All 3 of these look very interesting to me, and I've never played any of them. Nalia, I've actually upgraded a little bit. They're in proxy form still, the upgrades that I did to Nalia, but this isn't even its base form yet. And so I'm really excited to get some play testing in with this one at one of our Commander patron play days and see how it works. Same thing with Inquisitor Greyfax. I got this Warhammer set, and the only deck I've played from it is the Tyranids, and I didn't even upgrade that deck. I just played it stock maybe 3 times, and that was all I've done. And I spent $200 on these 4 decks. I've still got the Necrons sitting on the shelf behind me, unopened, unsleeved, but I am trying to avoid some stuff that I just typically do, even though I'm only building black decks. I am avoiding the mono black, and I'm avoiding what is, I think, pretty much an artifact graveyard deck. I have variations of those throughout my active roster and throughout my last year of building, and so it's just something I want to avoid. Both of these seem really enticing to me. The Despoiler here seems a little OP, quite honestly, and so I'm going to play test it and see how it plays out. I haven't upgraded either of these yet, and so I really want to get multiple plays in with them right out of the box, see what the experience is, and then upgrade them with stuff I've got around that I think will make them more powerful. If you've played Inquisitor Greyfax or the Despoiler here, notice I am dodging pronouncing that name because I have no idea how to do it. Let me know what your experience with these has been. Any guidance that you can provide with that will be fantastic. And then with Nalia, yeah, I don't really have a Kindred deck on my active roster right now, and this one is a wider Kindred deck that can sort of be a project deck. I've talked about project decks on the channel, and I really like those, and so having something that I can sort of dig into every set and say, oh, was there a new cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard printed that can go into my black and white deck? That'd be cool. The only problem with these 3 is that they all have black in them, and Jake has called me out for only building commander decks with black in them, so we're just gonna have to deal with it for now. So before I decided that I was just going to concentrate on building commanders and using cards that I already have at the house, I was looking at Falco Spara. I really want to build a Capenna themed deck. I want a commander in that gilded Capenna treatment, and I want to build it with as many cool Capenna showcase gilded full art awesome looking Streets of New Capenna cards that I can possibly acquire for it. I think I'm gonna have to put that plan on hold. However, I really want a dripped out Capenna deck, but that would probably mean that I need to get real hard into trading or just buy the cards outright, and I'm trying to avoid that right now. If you want to play some Commander with me and Jake and help me test out some of these decks and decide which way I want to take my active roster, go check out our Patreon. Any level makes you eligible for our Commander Playday, where Jake and I play Commander with the patrons once a month, all day long. Go check it out, see if the Patreon is a good fit for you. The playmat you saw in the video today and lots of other perks are available over there. We definitely appreciate it. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button and let me know down in the comments what you're doing with your active roster of commanders right now, and I'll see you in the next one.